Welcome back to Les Schwab Tire Center's Outdoor GPS, presented by Fisherman's Marine and Outdoor. Now it's time for your weekend tech tip, brought to you by Chevy Silverado.
Welcome back, everyone. Joined in studio by Dave Ng. He's the owner of Fisheng Products, also Fisheng Guide Service. If you want to get out on the water, we couldn't recommend Dave any higher. Great guy. Not your typical guide in the sense that he will educate, help you. Just go out, have fun, right? There isn't any. I've never had, and we hear all of them, believe it or not, never had a complaint about you.
That's good. Let's try to keep it that way.
I was like, I've never seen you get hot out there. I'm sure that there's moments, but yeah, always get good ratings for you. Leaderboards. This is the one I remember 100 years ago. You asked me about, we were at Fisherman's Marine, and I don't know if you remember this or not, but you asked me about a particular television show that was running at the time. That was one of my favorite shows of all time. That's no longer out there, Glenn Hall's show. Yeah. Hog Quest. Remember Hog Quest?
I saw Glenn at Tackle Time this fall.
Did you really?
I did.
He did a gig. I don't mean to get sidetracked, but he did like a reunion thing with Big Dave and Nick Amato a couple of years ago, where they got together. They did that show a lot together. It was one of the best videos that I've seen out there. I think it was under the salmon trout steelheader thing. Anyway, he asked me about that. I'm like, God, I love that guy. But that's when you first came out with the fishing leader. You're like, here, try this. And I'm like, dude, I got the little thing from the pool that I use. This changed a lot of it for a lot of us. I use it for everything. Steelhead fishing in the boat, salmon fishing. You know, I've got them in my backpack when I'm hiking. They've really helped out a lot of people keeping stuff clear.
It keeps stuff ready to go.
It does.
You know, the super baits is really what accelerated it over the top. The stuffer baits, you know, over the top. But you know, keeping the flatness, you know, like you say, be able to put it in your backpack without having
getting caught on stuff.
So it just flat worked.
Yeah, no, I myself I take the medium, right? I think the medium size, and then it fits into a gallon Ziploc bag perfectly, and that's what I have all my and I've showed it here before, all my beads and stuff all wrapped on there, and then I put it in the Ziploc bag and I put it in my backpack. It's money. It's good to go. This is actually cool because this is not necessarily new for you, but it is something that you can purchase over at Fisherman's. They have them in stock. Sorry about that. That's the Kershaw Tech Cam that I just pulled it away from, where you can actually buy a Fisheng, not just branded, but this is your box.
It's our box.
With 2 of the large fishing leaderboards in it, and actually quite cheaper than buying all of it separate. And with the, you know, the higher end brand boxes, so it's a cheaper way to actually go to get a couple of those. And with 2 boards in this box, you could fill that and have plenty of room for your super baits, for all your stuffer baits pre-rigged and all that.
Right. You know, personally, I usually, you know, I find if I take too much stuff, I got too much junk in the boat. But I'll layer, you know, a bunch of stuffer baits on one board and then spinners on the bottom side. And if you flip them over, do that, then the hooks don't get caught up on each other.
Yeah, good point.
Or you can get some of those little inexpensive chopping mats from like the dollar store and lay them in between the hooks.
Just to help protect everything.
But I'll carry my spinners and super baits in one box. And I got more boxes on the boat.
I bet.
But this is my working box for the day. You know, this is what we caught fish on yesterday, and it's been, you know, readjusted for tomorrow, and then it's ready to go. I only have to have one box out, you know, instead of having, you know, there's 10 more underneath that seat box, but it's the way it, you know, keeps me organized.
Well, it keeps you organized and efficient, and the more time that I mean, obviously he's a guide. He's got a lot of rods that are in the water. So for us normal dudes with 1 or 2 rods, depending on where we are. Now I love that split screen shot. By the way, I'm sorry, I'm kind of a geek with this stuff. That's a great shot, by the way. It just keeps you more organized. You're going to be better at what you're doing. It might seem trivial, but it's really not. Okay, so one of the things that I wanted to point out. On your website, we were just talking about it before we came back to this segment. Go ahead and pull up that website for me and scroll all the way down. And I know that I'm out of order here because we try to be somewhat professional around here. Everyone, you know that I'm not, but we try to go back up, and you're going to find something that right there, the sinker gauge. Okay, now forgive me, another one. This to me is like the pet rock.
It is.
It is. Okay. Dave, years ago, gave me a couple of these things, and I'm like, literally, and not to be mean, but literally, I took them and I threw them in the gunnel of the boat, and I never looked at them again. Then the 360 thing started up, what, 8-10 years ago now?
Yeah.
And you had to start getting really precise with the weights that you were using. And it got real frustrating because you're getting to the, okay, well, I got a 12 here and I want the 14, but God, I got the wrong one on. And your rods are working different. And if you get ADD-ish like I can out there, it was just, it's one of those products that you're like, okay, this really makes sense.
It just works.
It just works.
You know, it's in the dark and you're in the morning and it's, you know, trying to do whatever. And
now, you were saying you have 18 cannonball, 18-ounce cannonballs, and there's some variants out there. I like 14s, right? Typically, it's a 12, 16, or a 20, and you get that in-between stir, and you can still gauge it because it won't go all the way up there into the right, into, say, a 16 spot or whatever it was. So it is another innovative thing that you have out there. But going back to that website, this is the thing that it really changed a lot, and you can scroll up to those extensions. This is what really changed a lot of our boats. Now, for years, we've been using extensions from either, doesn't matter what manufacturer, if it was Fulby, Scotty, whoever was out there, they have a plastic extension. All of them were 4 to 6 inches. And I literally broken, holy crap. Luckily, I never lost a rod, but I lost rod holders because I would lean on them and they would break. Okay, and that was the problem that you were trying to fix years ago when you came out with these aluminum extensions, and then of course the bases. You ultimately came out with aluminum bases as well that don't break. I mean, I can literally tie my, and I wouldn't recommend this, but I've tied them off, used the extension to tie my boat off.
I do all the time.
And then come back and not realize that that extension, being as strong as it is, if you get a bunch of big wakes, I actually bent the gunnel on one of my boats a few years ago that I had to use the aluminum extension to bend that back a little bit because it kind of pulled it. That's just how strong they are.
Yeah. You know, it's 3/8 machined aluminum.
Yeah, so. Let alone they're beautiful.
Yeah.
They're so good that people have tried to knock it all off everywhere because they are very, very functional and they work extremely well. How many different sizes? What, 3?
I think there's 5 different sizes.
5 different sizes, and you have different bends. As you can tell, depending on how your boat is set up, like in the back of my boat, I've got straight vertical, that exact one, the 12-inch vertical. And then as my boat goes, as I'm working your way forward, and we did a great video here. I wonder if we still have that, Ryan. Anyway, as you work your way up, you start gradually bending out a little bit further, up towards the front of the boat so you can get good rod spacing.
Get your spread out there, get the rod out of the guy's chest. You know, typically in the back, there's nobody back there, so you got rods so that it doesn't matter where the butts are. Up towards the middle, you know, you got a guy sitting there, so move that butt out of his chest 8 inches, and it also gets it, you know, that much further out on your corners and your turns.
Sure.
And you can get it up in the air and actually, you know, I'm 5'8", so, you know, sitting in my chair, I got to be able to see those rod tips.
Yeah, that's a good point.
That one's got seaweed on it. Pull it up and, you know, it's not working.
Yeah.
So you can see it. And I like my rod tips, you know, just horizontal to down so that they're, you know, kind of semi-ly not preloaded too far.
We get that question all the time about why do guides position their rods the way that they do? Because you can quite honestly look at just about every guide boat and they're all going to be flat or somewhat tilted down. There's a lot of reasons for that. I mean, if we have some time, we might talk about that with Dave this upcoming segment. But we're going to cut to a quick break. That's just a few ideas of what fishing products have. We're going to talk about a couple more. I probably going to want to talk about one of my favorites, which was the rod holder, or excuse me, the net holder on how you can actually keep your net in one spot if you don't lose it. Because they're made of aluminum, and guess where they go? Straight to the bottom. We'll be back with Dave Ing in just a minute.
Outdoor GPS is brought to you by Yakima Bait, steeped in tradition, innovation, and fishing success. Procure Bait Sense, ruthlessly effective. And by North American Metals Incorporated, first choice for all your metal roofing and siding needs.